need God to do that for me now. I need him to order my steps in his word. What a great God we serve. Let's give God one more hand praise for the ministry of dance. Amen. Let me not forget now, our children's hour is up on us. And so any young people that would like to be a part of our children's church moment, parents who would like for their children to be a part of that, this is now your time and opportunity. They can go over to the lobby area. Let's give our kids a beautiful hand, and our workers actually miss the service on Sundays to go and spend this time with our children. And we thank God for their commitment. I know they be wanting to be in here to hear me preach, and it be so hard because they be missing. Y'all supposed to laugh or something when I say that. Y'all so dry today. Look at your neighbor and ask them, do you need some water or something? You need some water? Amen. Amen. Go pour some holy water on somebody. It's raining on the outside, but it's nice and cozy on the inside. And I heard one preacher say, if you're going to come to church, you might as well have it. Ain't no sense in wasting your shower water or your gas to come here. And some of y'all don't stay by Hoover. It takes you a nice little bit to get here. And so since we're here, we're going to give God what he so rightfully deserves. I'm going to the book of Daniel today, Daniel chapter number 1. Can you believe it? We're going to the book of Daniel, and it ain't chapter 3. Most folk go to Daniel chapter 3 talking about those 3 Hebrew boys in that fiery furnace. But today we're going to Daniel chapter number 1. And I want to read it from the New Living Translation. So if you have that translation, I would encourage you to go there with us. Daniel chapter 1, and I'm going to begin at verse number 3, and I need to read several verses. I'm going down through verse number 17 from Daniel chapter 1, so go ahead and keep your seats because this is going to be necessary reading, but it's also going to be reading that is extremely powerful. Daniel chapter 1, beginning at verse number 3, says these words, Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, his chief of staff, to bring to the palace some of the young men of Judah's royal family and other noble families who had been brought to Babylon as captives. Here were his instructions in verse number 4. Select only strong, healthy, and good-looking young men, he said. Make sure they are well versed in every branch of learning, are gifted with knowledge and good judgment, and are suited to serve in the royal palace. Train these young men in the language and literature of Babylon. The king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine from his own kitchens. They were to be trained for 3 years, and then they would enter the royal service. Look at verse number 6. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were 4 of the young men chosen, all from the tribe of Judah. The chief of staff renamed them with these Babylonian names. Daniel was called Belshazzar, Hananiah was called Shadrach, Mishael was called Meshach, and Azariah was called Abednego. But Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. So he asked the chief of staff for permission not to eat these unacceptable foods. Now God had given the chief of staff both, watch this, respect and affection for Daniel. Make a mental note of that. He had given him respect and affection. But he responded, I am afraid of my Lord King, who has ordered that you eat this food and wine. And if you become pale and thin compared to the other youths your age, I am afraid the king will have me beheaded. Daniel spoke with the attendant who had been appointed by the chief of staff to look after Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Watch verse 12. Please test us for 10 days on a diet of vegetables and water, Daniel said. And at the end of the 10 days, see how we look compared to the other young men who are eating the king's food. Then make your decision in light of what you see. The attendant agreed to Daniel's suggestion and tested them for 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, Daniel and his 3 friends looked healthier and better nourished than the young men who had been eating the food assigned by the king. So after that, the attendant fed them only vegetables instead of food and wine provided for the others. Emphasis statement is in verse number 17. God gave these 4 young men an unusual aptitude for understanding every aspect of literature and wisdom. And God gave Daniel the special ability to interpret the meanings of visions and of dreams. The flower fadeth and the grass withereth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Look at your neighbor like you are concerned about them and say these words to them. Bloom where you're planted. Some of your neighbor didn't understand that, so look back at them and tell them, make the best of a bad situation. Amen. You know, God is funny. Here we are, the last Sunday of the month of February that we celebrate Black history. And it's funny because I couldn't help but see a parallel between our history as African American people and even the history of this brother by the name of Daniel. Because one of the things that is often overlooked about him is that in as much as Daniel was a prophet, he was also a slave. I think that's one of the elements of his life that we overlook. Sometimes people can be so in awe of your gift that they overlook the reality of your circumstance. People can anticipate and expect your gift to work without understanding that you are in a compromised position many times in your own right to be a prophet and to be a slave. To publicly be successful but to privately be under pressure is a very difficult and dangerous place to find yourself, because on one hand you have a job to do when it comes to God, and then on the other hand you have an assignment to do as it pertains to your natural way of being. How can you successfully be an intercessor but at the same time on your job you are a processor, and so you don't get to pray like you should? You don't get to prepare as a minister. You don't get to condition yourself for the service of God, because you also have to have the service of men to attend to, and therefore there is conflict and there is bind. There is pressure because you want to do your calling, but at the same time you got to do your career. And so it is a very difficult place in which to be, and I said that to say that we need to carry with us a degree of understanding for a brother like Daniel, who was, despite his position, his posture was always right. His posture was right in that he knew that God had called him, but he knew his present circumstance, and he had to balance between what God had called him to do and what God was taking him through. And I want to say this because I'm convinced that this is really the test of spiritual Christian maturity. The test of spiritual maturity is not how you treat God when God is treating you well, but how do you treat God when God is allowing all hell to just jump off in your life? That's the true test of spiritual maturity. And I know I won't probably get too many amens on that, on top of the fact that it's also raining on the outside, but it's easy to shout when all your bills are paid. It's easy to say how good God is when you got a car to drive and a roof over your head, but the true test of it is, can you sing the same song at midnight that you sing in the middle of the day? And that's sort of what we're learning from the history of Daniel, and that's what we learn from the history of even ourselves as a people, to know that the same blood that flowed through our ancestors is the same blood that flowed through us, that for so many of our forefathers, our foreparents who worked on plantations, who worked in fields with little to no money, by the way, but ended up owning it. The same place where they served and received nothing in return for it. To know that the same blood is flowing through you, to be able to know that you are connected to somebody that when they wanted to make a mockery of us, didn't really want to feed us anything, but just to say they did give us something to eat, they would take the leftover gook and mess from animals and they would throw it out to great grandmama and them, but grandmama and them found a way to clean up that mess and they started serving it every year around New Year's. They called them chitlins. If you can take mess and find a way to create a meal, there's something on the inside of you. Y'all ain't talking to me. To know that the same blood and tenacity flows in you, that somebody can give you $20 on a Monday and you can make it stretch all the way through next Monday and still not miss a beat. There is something on the inside of you that God has implanted and instilled in us that not only causes us to survive, but also to thrive. I'm talking about making the best of a bad situation, and there are some people in this room that's really been the story of your life, because life for you has not been a crystal stair. It's had some boards and some tacks in it. You know, you had your share of ups and downs, but when you look back over your life, you did pretty good. You did all right. Sometimes you had to pull yourself up, and sometimes you had to encourage yourself when there was nobody else to do it. But you every now and then you ought to pat yourself on the back and say, boy, you did all right, girl, you must be somebody, because the average person would have jumped out of a window to go through the stuff that you went through, but you still made it. You made the best out of a bad situation. Something like that happens in the story of Daniel's life, and you got to check it because it's cold-blooded, because Daniel is taken as a captive. Let the church say a captive. A captive, which means that he has now been taken from his homeland and has been brought into a strange land where he really doesn't understand the people. He doesn't really understand the culture. He doesn't even want to be there, but God has willed it, so he has permitted it, so he has allowed it to be so. And Nebuchadnezzar said something around verse 3 and 4, and it's cold-blooded, and I really didn't want to talk about this, but I got to drop it in there because it's in the verse. It's in the verse. He said, when we go and take slaves, when we take captives, here's what Nebuchadnezzar said. I don't like him that much, but he did something that was very brilliant. He said, only take strong, healthy, and good-looking young men. Did you read that in your Bible? I hope you didn't tear that out. He said, only take strong, healthy, and good-looking young men. He said, everybody else that's weak and flawed and timid, you can just let them stay where they are. But everybody that is strong, healthy, well-able, well-bodied individuals, take them. Only get the strong, smart, intellectual people and bring them into my service, bring them into my court. Because Nebuchadnezzar understood something that we got to get. We got to get it. That if you're going to build anything that is successful or of any great significance, you're going to have the best. You got to have the best around you. This whole business of just doing stuff for the sake of relationships, okay, you mess around and bring your lazy cousin on board with you, you're going to mess around and be out of business. You know, they don't never keep a job. If every 2 months, baby, it just didn't work out. If everywhere you go, you get to fight, look at your name and tell them you the problem. You the problem. You the problem. If every relationship you get in, you get dumped, it ain't always everybody. I knew y'all didn't want to say amen. That's why you're just laughing right now. But if every relationship you get in, they end up letting you go, it's not them. It's you. Nebuchadnezzar understood. He said that if I am going to build a major kingdom here, I cannot do it with weak and timid and sick individuals. I pray that God blesses you, but I'm going to have to go with what is best. And every now and then it's crucial and critical for us to understand that the place where God is taking you in this year of manifestation, you can't be weak and you can't be timid. There are some places where they can't afford to bring you on when they know you wear your feelings on your sleeve. There are certain places you can't, oh, y'all all right? There are certain venues that you cannot enter if timidity is your primary and predominant personality. Everything makes you cry. When people have to rehearse what they're going to say to you for fear that your feelings are going to be so hurt, you don't need to be in a place of prominence or in a place of position of power. People ought to be able to say what they're going to say, and you ought to be man or woman enough to just receive what is said and act accordingly. Are you in this place with me? I got to say that to us because we do things based upon our feelings and based upon our emotions without ever considering the fact that the purpose is the priority. So if you can't handle somebody telling you what to do or what not to do sometime, and you talking about getting married, you better stay single. Because every now and then, and it ain't that nobody trying to be your mama, ain't that nobody trying to be your daddy, but see, there's a difference in a deposit and an investment. You see, I personally bank with PNC. I like PNC, man. I personally like them. To me, they're like the Chick-fil-A of the bank world because they just always so nice every time I go in there. I mean, whether you got money in your account or not, they still nice to you. They treat you like you got $1 million in your account. I'm telling you, they're so nice. But on with PNC, they have an app, a mobile device that if you give me a check, I don't have to go to the bank to deposit it. I can snap a picture of the front and the back of the check, and I can deposit the check right there from my phone. Here's the point that I'm making. In order to make a deposit, the bank ain't even got to be open. The bank can be closed, and you can still make a deposit. But if you're getting ready to make an investment, you're going to have to do it during normal business hours. You see, the reason that so many of our relationships are so messed up is because we've gotten connected with people who only want us to make deposits in them, but we're not open enough for them to make investments in us. Preach, Pastor White. I'm doing the best I can. We only want somebody, take me shopping. That's an investment. But don't tell me what to wear because that's an investment. It's quiet in this house. Buy me a car. That's a deposit. But don't tell me if you go over there, that's not a good decision because that sounds too much like an investment. Here is what Nebuchadnezzar is trying to do for his kingdom. He's trying to make an investment in his kingdom. So he only says, select well-bodied individuals. Give me the strong. Give me the cream of the crop. Give me the best. That's who I really want operating in this kingdom, which is why they took Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. You know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but that's only their slave names. Their real names are Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And they bring them into the court and say, yeah, they look good. They're smart, intellectual young brothers. They'll do good for us. But they're still not good enough. Get this. He says, train them for 3 years before they will be allowed to even enter into royal service, which means that they even had to be taught for 3 years on how to have a conversation with the king. Honor had to be employed. You couldn't just jump up and go into king's service. I don't care how fine you were. I don't care how smart you were. You had to be trained, and that was the culture. That was the identity that they wanted to give them. They wanted to strip them of their clothing, strip them of their faith, strip them of their religion, strip them of all of their books and of all of their knowledge. But the only problem with it was this, and please don't shout and tear these people's ballroom. The only problem with it was this, that they could only take from them everything that was on the outside, but they could not steal the joy that they had on the inside. And some of you are in some places where you really don't want to be right now. And God said the only way you're going to make it through what you're in right now is that while they're taking away stuff that is around you, if you can hold on to what I have put on the inside of you, you will still be able to have the right attitude and the right posture and bloom where you are planted. They could not take the joy that was on the inside of them, that you can rob me of all my stuff, but my experience with God is what's going to keep me. And if you need some hope for where you are right now, you need to think about where God has brought you from, what he kept you through. The proof that God will pay your bills this time is that he did it last time. God help me in this place. Your history is what's going to help prompt you to your destiny when you remember how good God has been. And so check it. They bring them into one place, strip them of everything, take away all their stuff. The king has an agenda to only use the best, only use the cream of the crop, and he says, give them a daily ration of my food. This crazy, because on the outside looking in, this is awesome. Everybody don't get to eat from the king's table. Caviar. I don't even know what that is. I just heard people say it. Anybody ever had what they call hors d'oeuvres? I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know what that is. Excuse me, I'm from West End and Pilot. I don't know nothing about that. I mean food on a stick, skewers. I mean just the best, ribeye, T-bone, all of the good stuff. You're eating from the king's table. I mean, it wasn't champagne, it was the best wine. I ain't talking about bootleg or special. I'm talking about the real stuff. I mean, that aged wine. And Daniel said no. I'm finna help you. You have the opportunity of a lifetime to eat from the king's table, rich folk stuff. And Daniel said no. Not only did he say no, he said, I will not defile myself with that which is unseemly for me. I won't defile myself. I won't hurt myself like that. Hold up, what could be wrong with the best food? I mean, my God, if somebody gave you a gift coupon to go to Ruth Chris, wouldn't you go? You would. You would. Some of y'all look like that's the only way I'll go over there too, because I'm not finna pay that much money for no food. What would make Daniel say no? Here's what I want to drop in your spirit. Here's what I want to drop in your spirit. Here's what I want to drop in our spirit. Us's. I want to drop this in us's spirit, because we're in a generation where everybody is chasing after something. Here's what God wanted me to tell you. You ain't got to take every opportunity. You don't have to jump on everything that you think is an advantage. Here's what I'm saying. For those of you that every time you at work and it pop up that a new job open, you ain't got to apply for everyone that pop open. Okay, y'all gonna say amen better next Sunday. Okay, I'm gonna be laid back since y'all laid back today. You don't have to receive everything that's being offered to you. $4 more an hour. Let me go and apply for it. And that ain't bad. If you making 10 an hour and they say we'll give you 14, who wouldn't? An extra 20 G's a year, who wouldn't? I know you're rich, but a little more would help. Yeah. But you don't have to take advantage of every opportunity. I remember just a few days ago, I had gone in a gas station. I needed to get some cash out. And so I went to the ATM in the gas station to get $20 out. All right, so it gave me my $20. And so when I reached down to get my $20 bill, I felt some more paper. I looked, I said, what's this here? Picked it up, it was 4 other 20s that apparently somebody had just taken out the ATM. Maybe they left it or more came out for somebody else. Just $80 just sitting right there. I could have said, look at God. Melodies from heaven rain down, money from heaven rain down. I took the $80 and I took it up front. I said, somebody had to leave this. If they come back in here and say something about some money, please give it to them. Now, that person probably stuck it in their pocket. I don't know. But the point of the matter is, I didn't take it. God, help me in this room. Because you ain't got to take everything that's being put in front of you. And I heard God say that since you gave it back, I'll give it to you. I wish somebody in this room would hear me. So everything that's being presented, you ain't got to take advantage of it. What? Huh? Y'all all right on the left side? What would make Daniel turn down the best food from the best table in the land? Okay. What would make a person who has been given an opportunity to go to the White House say, no, thank you? Because you know us ain't getting no invitations. Not us regular folk, we ain't getting no invitation. You don't win no Super Bowl, you don't win no NBA championship, you ain't going. Baby, I wouldn't go. You ain't getting invited. That's why you wouldn't go. But what would give someone that privilege of access and say, I would rather not, which leads me to say that everything ain't for you. Sister, you ain't got to give your number to every dude that asks for it. We just have to talk about that on Tuesday night, bro. Hick, just we'll deal on that kind of stuff. Bro, you ain't got to accept everything that's offering something to you. Sometimes the best gift is the ability to say, And in 2018, I pray that God will give you the supernatural ability to say no. Because everything ain't for you. He says, I will not defile myself with this unnecessary food for my system. So what does he do? He said, I tell you what, just give me vegetables and some water and I'll be straight. Now I told you when we were reading, pay attention to something. And that was the fact that Daniel had received respect and affection from even the chief of staff in the king's palace. Let me say something to you. Please don't miss this. Because Daniel is in a place where he don't want to be. He don't like it. But it didn't change the fact that somebody there still liked him. Which leads me to say this, that just because you're working on a job that you really don't like and you really don't want to be there, it doesn't give you clemency to act a fool when you get there. Preach, Pastor. See, this just for us today. I'm glad it's just us in here and we ain't got no visitors, in here today, because I needed to talk to us today because there is something about us that we always got to show our true colors just because we are discontent with where we are. So we'll go in there almost as if we are daring them to fire us. I don't like it in here no way. I can't stand you no way. I was just waiting on the right opportunity to finally get all this stuff off my chest. And so you have allowed for your position to define your posture. But the key ingredient in being blessed by God is when you can be where you don't want to be, but you can still act like you're supposed to act. Preach, Pastor White. And so they still liked him. They respected him and gave him affection, which is why when they were passing out food, Daniel said, no, I don't want to eat that. I don't want none of that. Just give me some vegetables and water, because if I eat from your table, then it's going to look like that I am in cahoots with your assignment and your agenda. So therefore, I don't want to eat your food. So he tells the attendant, I don't want to eat this. Just give me some vegetables and some water. Watch this. This crucial. It's crazy. He said, look, man, come on. You must not care about me, Daniel. Because if you cared about me, you were going to eat this food. Because if I give you just vegetables and water, the king going to have my head. Let me say something in passing. Be careful that what you want other folk to do don't kill them. Because it's something about us. We don't care what it costs other folk long as we get what we want. I'm preaching better than y'all saying amen. I'm going to start another church next week. They're going to say amen better than y'all do. He says, if I do this for you, you will get me in trouble. And some folk don't care. You know, give me your last. As long as it blesses me. You know, I don't care what it costs you. Just give me what I want. Some of y'all got some kids like that. They don't care about the lights being on. Just give me toys. They don't care that you got a headache. Get up, talk to me. I want to talk. They don't care that you had a long day. He still want fellowship. They don't care you tired, your body weary. It's your season. They just want what they want. Don't care what it costs you. And Daniel says to him, I'll tell you what, try it for 10 days. If after 10 days we look better and more healthy than our other counterparts, then keep it going, and if not, we'll do what you want us to do. Here's what I want to say. When you have gained respect, attention, and affection because you've been close to God and you chose not to compromise your faith, people who think they're calling shots for you, God will let you call their bluff. You get to negotiate. You know, I'll tell you what, I know I'm in the king's palace, but let me do this vegetable plan. That way I don't have to eat nothing I don't want to eat. And if we look better, put everybody else on this plan and we'll go with this. And if not, then I'll go along with what you're going along with. But can I tell you, after 10 days, when they looked back and examined Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, that the ones that were not eating the ribeye, the ones who were not eating the T-bone, the ones who were not eating the meatloaf and the mashed potatoes, and was not eating the corn and the green beans, the ones that was just eating some regular old carrots and drinking some water, looked better than everybody else. Let me tell you why that happened. Let me tell you why that happened biblically. Let me tell you what really happened. It's because Daniel did something that we don't like to do in our culture. Daniel chose to fast. See, most of us, all we know is fast food. We don't know about fasting from food. He chose to fast. He says, so here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fast. But here's the reason why he fasted. I need you to get these in your notes. Write these down real quick, and then we're done. He fasted, number one, because he was in some place he did not want to be. So how do you know if fasting would be a complementary action for what I'm going through? Here it is. When you are in a place where you don't feel like you really desire to be there, fasting might be your way out. Watch what happens. He is in Babylon. He's been taken from the holy place, from the holy city, and as a consequence, he is now in a place, in a predicament that he really does not desire. So he says, I'll tell you what, in order to showcase to God that this is not really something that I'm vibing with, something that I'm feeling, I'll fast. Because what the fast does is, for the part of me that cannot stand where I am, I'll bring the part of you that'll make it easier for me to be here. Because that's really what fasting is. It's giving up something that I need so that God can replace it with something that I really need. You know the reason some people can't handle rejection is because they don't know how to tell themselves no. You think you finna conquer laying your hands on somebody else and you can't even conquer donuts? You can't conquer a Twinkie. You can't conquer Pepsis. Gotta have it. And all the stuff that we say we need, they aren't needs. They're wants and desires. It's the ability to tell myself no, so that if I ask you for something and you tell me no, I ain't got to go tuck my tail and cry, because after all, I'm used to telling me no. So when Jesus fasted for 40 days in the wilderness, if he asked someone for something and they said no, I fasted for 40 days. You think I'm going to cry because you won't let me have none of your French fries? That's what fasting really does. It gets me in the habit of delayed gratification. It gets me in the habit of turning down something that I would want on a regular basis. And now that I've deprived myself of it, I don't have to ever become greedy. I don't ever have to take something that I don't have to have, because I'm used to telling myself no. That's why every now and then, just because you got the money don't mean you got to spend it. I'm talking to us black folks. It was on sale. How many know that when you broke, a sale is still too expensive? Still too expensive. 40% off don't mean nothing if you ain't even got the 40%. Being able to tell yourself no from something. I gotta have them shoes. No, you don't. I got to get my hair done. No, you don't. You really don't. See, you made yourself believe that you had to, but you really don't. You can miss something. You can skip something. Grandmama and them used to put them little combs on the stove. And they was fine and sharp every Sunday. Outdressed all of these folk talking about they dressing now. Here's the point. He was in some place he didn't want to be, so he chose to fast. Stop complaining about your job and start fasting about it. Because the same thing you complaining about, you rushing out the house every morning to get to. Having accidents on 65 and 20 and 459, trying to get to a place you really don't want to be. You eating Fruit Loops out of a plastic cup because you didn't have time to get breakfast. So you at a red light trying to eat Fruit Loops to get to a place that you don't want to be. Don't complain about it. Fast about it. A house that you don't want to be in. Relationship. Fast about it. Second thing, and we're finna be done. Why did he fast? It's because, number two, he refused to sell out. He refused to sell out. If I eat this, that is indicative of the fact that I'm cool with this. I've accepted this. I've accepted it. That's what I want. I want the king's table. This is all right. He said, but I cannot defile myself with that. So I can be in this world, but I don't have to be of this world. Number three. Why did Daniel fast in chapter 1? This was the one right here that got me. He wanted to show forth the strength of God. That's cold-blooded. If after 10 days I'm still looking good and healthy, I have just proven unto you that God will sustain me better than the stuff I thought I needed. Sometimes you are more defined by what you didn't get. Sometimes you're more defined by what you didn't have access to, but you still made it. I mean, if you get you a new car because you got good credit, good job, down payment, all that good stuff. That's cool. You're going to walk away grateful because you was able to do it. But when you got bad credit and no down payment and you ain't got the best job in the world, but you still leave a lot with the car you want, ain't you going to shout real hard like, look what God did, because it couldn't have been me? He showed forth his strength. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. So Daniel had to show to the people that were around him that I'm not going to make it because of you. I'm making it because of him. That's why when you go to work tomorrow, man, you need to walk up in that place and let them know, man, even if the government shut down, my God don't shut down. It ain't my job. It's my God that supplies all my needs according to his. Any Negro that tell you you ain't going to make it without me, look at him and tell him the devil is a liar. So are you. I was doing good before you came into my life. I was fine when you met me. I'll be fine when you leave me. And if you leave me, guess what? The favor going to stay right here with me. He had to show forth the strength of God to let the people around him know, I don't need what you think I need. I ain't got to have what you think I got to have. I ain't got to do what you think I got to do. If God says I'm blessed, I'll be blessed with or without you, with or without that, because that don't make me blessed. The fact that I got God on my side is really what makes me blessed. They said that when praises go up, blessings come down. I got one better for you. When praises go up, not the blessings, but the blesser comes down. The Bible says that he inhabits the praises of his people. To inhabit means to dwell or to live, to set up residence, to make habitat in that place. So when I praise God, he comes down and he lives and he dwells in my praise. So the real blessing is not the house. The blessing is not the car. The blessing is not the job. The real blessing is that everywhere I go, he walks with me and he talks with me and he tells me that I'm his own. Somebody ought to really get excited about that, because people had you thinking that you were blessed when you got some money. I'm blessed when I don't get an income tax refund. I'm blessed if I don't get a raise, if I don't get a I'm blessed because of who I got and not what I got. So he does not sell out by eating the food. And after 10 days, everybody looks at the 4 boys and says, man, they look better than all the rest of us. We thought they would look worse. We thought they would be pale. We thought they would look like they were on their way to death. But they actually look better than all of us. And then not only did they look better, but watch verse 17. I got to close. I got to raise up. But watch verse 17. I came here today for verse 17. If you ain't getting nothing else, I wanted you to get verse 17. Verse 17, here's what it says. God gave these 4 young men an unusual, here go my word, aptitude. I'm in the New Living Translation. For understanding every aspect of literature and wisdom, and God gave Daniel the special ability to interpret the meanings of visions and dreams. Here's what that means. Before the fast, they didn't have it like this. They were already smart. They already had some good sense. But they didn't have it like this, because in verse 17, it says God gave these 4 young men an unusual aptitude. You see, that's one of my assignments in the body of Christ. I told y'all, you go on the app and just look at the little promo. I tried to tell you that my assignment is not to develop the attitude or the altitude of the saints of God. It's to help to increase the aptitude of the body of Christ. Are we thinking about the word when we do stuff? That's the point of the matter. He says God gave them an unusual aptitude for wisdom and for literature, which literally means this, that when they chose not to sell out, when they chose to fast, the reward that God gave them was the ability to know what to do in every situation. All right, y'all don't know when to shout. You see, that's the reason why on March 12th, I'm calling for this ministry to go into a fast for 21 days, because here's what I'm believing God to do for us. I'm believing God to give us what we need, so much so that when a situation pop off in your life, you don't have to go home and rehearse for 3 days how you gonna deal with it, but that God would give you some on-the-spot revelation on what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and to whom you need to speak it. Somebody in this room, the truth be told, the reason you messed up is because your mouth got you in trouble. Some of the stuff you said, you wish you, anybody ever said something while it was going out your mouth, you wish you could just grab them and pull them back in before they got all the way out? But when they fasted, God gave them unusual aptitude to know what to say, when to say, how to say it. And then on top of that, he says, let me throw this in, Daniel. God gave Daniel the special ability to interpret the meanings of visions and of dreams. And it all started from Daniel deciding, I'm not going to defile myself with that. I'll fast from it. And not only will God give me what I need, but he'll also give me what I didn't ask for. He'll give me what I need to make up for it, to be my physical sustenance. But then he'll also give me the stuff that I wasn't looking forward to. What if I told you that what many of us are missing out on is the fact that we've not taken time out to fast? I know this ain't a shouting message because this new to some of us, but the idea of the fast literally means that, God, I'm giving up what I think I need to indicate what I really do need. Dr. Matt King Carter, before he passed away, one of the great preachers of our day, great preacher, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, he was telling a story. He said about a guy who was a scoundrel. He was a scoundrel. He wasn't no good, man. I mean, he was a womanizer to the 23rd power, man. I mean, he was crazy. He would go and get somebody in different cities, different area codes, different states, and he would just always introduce him as his cousin. You know what I'm saying? But they weren't really his cousin, you know. And so when the guy died, the lady was there, the wife was there, and the mother of the son got up and said, man, it's a shame. None of his cousins are here. You know, they were all there, but said none of his cousins were here. And she said to us, baby, them weren't his cousins. Them weren't none of his cousins. Why did you stick with him all that time, all those years? Why did you stay? And she said, he was all I had. You and I have had some messed up situations in our lives, even while we were with God. But nothing you could ever say would make me leave Jesus. Can I tell you why? He's all I got. He's really all I got. I know you got some friends, but he's all you got. And can I keep it 100 with you as I get ready to take my seat? Not only is he all I got, but he's all I need. I wish I had a church in here around that time, man. You ought to high five your neighbor and tell him he's all I got and he's all I need. So if you up and leave me, I'll still make it, because grandmama and them taught us early on, if thou withdraw thyself from me, whither shall I go? If God leave me, man, I won't be able to make it. If he don't hold my hand, the old folk used to say, I can't stand the storm. But how many know when God is on your side, you are always in the majority? You are never in the minority. You are always the head. You are never the tail. You are always above. You are never beneath. You are always the lender. You are never the borrower. And what God has for you is all the way for you. And this joy that you have, the world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The peace that you got, the world showed and give you no peace. So the world showed can't take it away from you. Every experience in your life that you've gone through with God, everything that put a smile on your face, it wasn't because some Negro paid for your food. It's because God supplied all your needs according to his riches in glory. He's all I got, but he's all I need. You ain't ever got to like me. You don't need everybody to like you. You just need God to like you. And if God be for us, who can be against? You don't need everybody to pat you on your back. God, if you just touch me with a finger of love and wake me up every morning and let me know that there is nothing that's going to happen to me today, that me and you together, oh, I wish I had a church in here, that me and you together can't handle, then that's good enough for me. God, you ain't even got to give me the whole loaf of bread. Just let me have the crumbs that fall from the master's table. How many know God's got enough healing in the hem of his garment to satisfy every need in your life? You ain't got to open the door all the way for me. If you just crack that baby a little bit for me, I'll get the rest. Oh, come on with me, somebody. If you just crack the door, I'll get in myself. Who in here understand that all you need, God, is to speak to you and you will feel better about everything that you go. God, you ain't got to move my mountains. Just give me the strength to climb. You ain't got to take away no stumbling blocks. If you just lead me through the valley of the shadow of death, that's good enough for me. God, if you don't pay my bills, if you just tell me everything gonna be all right, that is good enough for me. You ought to shake your neighbor's hand and tell him, he's all I got, but he's all I need. You ought to be rolling with me. He's all I got, but he's all I need. That's all I got to tell you. He's all I got, and he's all I need. Shake your neighbor's hand and tell him, neighbor, he's all I got, but he's all I need. Every day of my life, I need the Lord, need him to guide me a long life, narrow way. If I got Jesus, I got everything that I need. My Lord, it reminds me about a story of a rich man, and his rich wife. And for so many years, they wanted to have a child, but they were never able to have one. And so they decided that they would adopt a little boy. And he lived in the house with the rich man and the rich wife. But one day, the boy got real sick. He fell real ill with an incurable disease. And at 10 years old, the little boy died and he passed away. 2 years later, that woman died and she passed away. The man's heart was so broken in pieces that 3 years after that, that man died and passed away. So everybody from around the city came to the rich man's house. They had an auction for all the rich man's stuff. The auctioneer stood before the crowd of people looking around the place, said, I came here to get that Picasso. I came here for the Lamborghini. I came here for the Aston Martin. The auctioneer stood up with a picture in his hand. He said, the first thing we're going to auction off is a picture of the rich man's son. Can I get somebody to bid on the picture? Folks started looking around. Said, I didn't come here to buy no picture. I came for the Lamborghini, and I came for the Aston Martin, and I came for the Picasso. I sure didn't come to buy no picture. He said, who will give a bid for the picture of the rich man's son? Then all of a sudden, an old man in the front row stood
stood on his feet. He said, I don't have a whole lot of money, but I used to work in the house for that old rich man. I stayed up late at night trying to tend to that baby boy. All I have is $25. I want to put a bid on the picture of the little boy. He said $25 going once, $25 going twice. Sold to the man on the front row. Then after that, the auctioneer picked up his gavel, slammed it on the desk, and said, this auction is now over. They said, wait a minute, what about the Picasso on the wall? What about that Lamborghini in the garage? What about the Aston Martin? The auctioneer stood up and said, I read it in his will that whoever gets the son can have everything. Shake your neighbor by their hand and say, neighbor, if you got Jesus, you got everything. Everything, everything that you need. Throw your hand up, throw your head back, and shout, yeah, he's all I got. He's all I need. If you know what I'm talking about, throw your hand up, throw your head back, shout, yeah. Ah.
He's all I got, but he's all I need. And when you got him, you ain't got to beg nobody for anything. You don't have to cry over spoiled or spilled milk. When doors shut in your face, don't you dare stand there ringing no doorbell. You look because another door is being opened. And whoever shuts the door in your face, shut the door on their own blessings. God will take care of you right where you are. Right where you are. You can bloom wherever you're planted. One of the most amazing stories in the Bible is when Isaac planted in a time of famine, when there was no water, no rain. It says he planted in a famine and God gave him back sevenfold, 100-fold for sowing even in a time of famine. And you waiting on God to move you, and if that's what he wants to do, you stay faithful to him and he's going to move you in due season. But until he moves you, bloom where you planted. Bloom where you planted. Until you get the mansion, take care of the apartment. Bloom where you planted. Until you become CEO, flip burgers, drop fries. Maybe you'll move to lettuce, and that's when the big bucks start rolling in. Bloom where you planted. Bloom where you planted. Look at your neighbor and tell them, bloom where you planted. Learn all you can from where you are right now. Make your bus pass into limousine service while you're riding on the back of the bus, getting back and forth across town. Look at everybody else in their little car. You'll get there when you get home. Bloom where you planted. Name your car. It might be a Pinto, but call it a Bentley. Because both of them go from point A to point B. Enjoy where you are, because the joy is in the journey. It's not in the destination. The joy is in the journey. How bored would you be if God gave you everything you asked for right now? He took away all your prayer requests because you got it all. How boring would that be? You got all that sunshine. But do you know why a desert is a desert? It don't get much rain. And it produces a desert because there's a very little rainfall. Very little. And that makes for a dry season. It makes for people who have no gratitude because they have no recollection of where they've come from. So bloom where you're planted. Maybe you can't go shopping right now. Go in that closet and mix and match. Change that shirt out with another shirt and wear it with those pants next time. But they're like, you got a new outfit. No. Just wore it with a different top this time. Bloom where you planted. And watch what God will do for you. And maybe you have to fast. And that's why I'm encouraging us starting March the 12th for 21 days leading up to Easter. That's what I'll be doing. And the Daniel fast of 21 days was really in Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, you can read that in your spare time. He said, I was in mourning for 21 days, for 3 weeks, and no meat had touched my mouth. So he was only eating vegetables and or fruit and water at that time. And that's what I'll be doing, because there are some things that I want God to pour something into me, to pour some supernatural aptitude into me. I want the prayer of Solomon. God, give me wisdom. Because if you give me wisdom, then everything else around me will take care of itself. You do know that once you get your mind right, you get your life right, right? I would never spend more on clothes than I spend on my mind. I would tell that to every teenage boy today. If I could go on just a platform and just talk to boys, I would tell them, never put more on your feet than you put in your mind. You got on a pair of $200 J's and ain't got $5 worth of sense in your head. The devil is a lie. $200 shoes with no job to go to. Where do they do that at? God, increase my aptitude. I would tell every young woman that you got it going on for yourself. You're doing well. Common sense and book sense. Don't waste it on somebody that don't even deserve you. Somebody that's going to pull you down and you will never be able to climb out of that hole. Somebody that's going to use you because you didn't know that better was out there, and it is. God, increase my aptitude. Let's pray. Father, I thank you today for allowing us this opportunity and this privilege just to move in this mode, in this moment, this opportunity to receive from you and to hear your voice speak to us on today. Some of us are in places that we don't want to be, but this is our year of manifestation. We don't let what we see change what you said. This is a year of manifestation for us. And until we experience what we expect, we will trust you to make good on every promise. But while we are there, help us to have the right attitude, to have the right spirit. Some of us are working on jobs that we didn't even go to school for that, and it doesn't even feel right. But God, help us to do well there, so that when you do uproot us, when you do take us to our next place, we want to live in such a way that people will miss us when we're gone. We want to be such an impact that people say that if they were here, then things would not be like this. It would be so much better. Speak to us now clearly, daily, because if we can't hear from you, then we don't know what to do. Help us to spiritually and physically fast from anything that we think that we need, only to show forth the fact that you are all that we need. I give you praise and glory for the people in this house today, those that are connected to this ministry, those that have heard this word and that receive this word. Let them see the benefits, and those that don't yet understand it, in due season, make it known to them the mystery of your will. I give you praise, I give you glory for the rewards that are getting ready to come in this season of our life. I thank you today as I count it done in Jesus' name. If you receive it, give God the best praise you can give.